Welcome aboard. We're starting our Barcelona boat tour right at the edge of the famous La Rambla, where the towering Columbus Monument stands guard over Port Vell. Built for the 1888 Universal Exposition, this massive column reaches almost 200 feet into the sky. If you look closely at Christopher Columbus up there, you'll notice he is pointing out towards the sea. But here is a funny local secret. He is actually pointing south toward the island of Majorca, not west toward the New World. It was just aesthetically better for him to point out to the Mediterranean. It is the perfect starting point for our own little voyage today as we leave the busy city streets behind and head out onto the water. As we slowly cruise through the calm, protected waters of the harbor, you get a real sense of Barcelona's maritime heart. This area is called Port Vell, which translates to Old Harbor in Catalan. What is amazing is that just a few decades ago, before the 1992 Summer Olympics, this entire waterfront was mostly a run-down industrial zone. The city completely reinvented itself, tearing down old warehouses to open Barcelona back up to the sea. Now, it is this beautiful, vibrant marina filled with promenades, restaurants, and boats of all sizes. Gliding through here, with the sun shining and the city buzzing in the background, is incredibly peaceful before we hit the open waves. Moving deeper into the port, we are passing one of the most exclusive and fascinating areas, the superyacht dry docks. This facility is actually one of the largest superyacht refit and repair shipyards in the entire world. Seeing these massive vessels lifted completely out of the water is a surreal experience. It really puts their enormous size into perspective. These docks can handle yachts up to a staggering 200 meters long. The amount of engineering and manpower it takes to maintain these floating palaces is mind-blowing. It is like a secret, high-tech hospital for some of the most expensive and luxurious ships on the planet, hidden right here in the middle of Barcelona. And now, we are finally breaking out of the breakwaters and into the open Mediterranean Sea. You can immediately feel the shift. The boat picks up speed, the breeze gets stronger, and the whole perspective changes. Looking ashore, we get this sweeping, panoramic view of the Barcelona skyline. On one end, there is the iconic, sail-shaped glass of the W Hotel glittering in the sun. And if you look closely over the dense grid of the city, you can spot the cranes surrounding Antoni Gaudi's masterpiece, the Sagrada Familia, still towering over everything after more than 140 years of construction. Seeing the city from the water, framed by the mountains in the background, is an absolutely breathtaking experience. After riding the waves out in the open sea, we are starting our journey back toward the city limits. But before we enter the port, you can't help but notice these massive silhouettes resting just off the coast. These are the commercial ships waiting at Anchorage. Because the port of Barcelona is one of the busiest in Europe, ships sometimes have to drop anchor out here in the deep water, essentially waiting in line for their turn to dock and unload. It is like a giant parking lot floating in the Mediterranean. Cruising past them in our smaller tour boat really makes you appreciate the massive scale of global trade that passes through these waters every single day. As we re-enter the harbor area, the scenery shifts dramatically from leisure to heavy industry. We are now passing the cargo ship terminals. This is the economic engine of the city. Look at those towering, massive gantry cranes moving shipping containers around like they are little Lego blocks. The port of Barcelona handles millions of these containers every year, connecting Spain to ports all across the globe. It is a loud, busy, and endlessly fascinating part of the harbor that most tourists walking around the Gothic Quarter never get to see. The sheer logistics required to coordinate all these ships, trucks, and trains moving cargo day and night is truly incredible to witness up close. Just a bit further along, the cargo containers are replaced by something completely different: the cruise ship terminals. Barcelona is consistently ranked as the #1 cruise port in all of Europe. These ships docked here are essentially floating cities, complete with water parks, theaters, and thousands of balconies. Depending on the day, you might see 3 or 4 of these giants lined up next to each other, loading and unloading thousands of passengers ready to explore the city. When you are sailing right beside the hull of a modern cruise liner, it feels like looking up at a 20-story skyscraper resting on the water. It's a huge contrast to the historic stone architecture of the city itself. As our tour comes to an end and we glide back into the heart of Port Vell, we have to talk about the mega yachts. This specific marina is designed to host some of the most luxurious private vessels in the world. As we sail past, you can't help but gaze at the sleek designs, the polished wood decks, and maybe even a helicopter pad or two. It is always a fun game to guess who might own them: celebrities, tech billionaires, or royalty. It is a glimpse into an ultra-exclusive world, resting peacefully right in the middle of public promenades. Thanks for joining me on this incredible boat tour of Barcelona. The sea really is the best way to see the city. And that brings us back to the docks and to the end of our amazing Barcelona boat tour. Thank you so much for watching and exploring the Mediterranean with me today. Please don't forget to like and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it really helps me out a lot. Goodbye, and see you soon.